tucked away in this beautiful Bahamian island with lots of resorts and amazing white sand beaches, tropical paradise, is this little slum, this little Haitian slum right on the island of New Providence. The children there live in squalor, pretty much. It's a difficult environment to grow up in, and yet it's one of the most beautiful, light-filled places I've ever been in my entire life. I can remember as a 6th grader going to the Bahamas for the first time on a family vacation. And we were a little bit shocked, frankly. I remember as a 6th grader just being kind of in awe of the poverty that we did see. But I remember as a 6th grader in the car, as someone was asking us if we wanted to buy drugs, just thinking, this is a place that I want to come back. So you often hear of mission trips going to Haiti. We know that it's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and it's a difficult situation there, but you don't often think necessarily of the Bahamas having a similar climate in some areas. However, in this little pocket where we serve in Carmichael Village, Haitian families of Haitian descent are living very much in similar conditions to Haiti.
So we were working with the kids, partnering up with Carmichael Evangelical Church on the New Province Island.
Most of them have lived in the Bahamas their whole lives, but the government there doesn't consider them citizens, and they aren't citizens of Haiti either.
Because their parents are illegal Haitian immigrants into the country, they're denied the rights of citizenship. They're considered stateless persons, which means that they don't have a home country. They're not able to obtain a passport. And now the government has decided that they may not even be able to go to school.
They told me that their teachers literally beat them in school.
Many of the families face deportation. They're fearful of deportation if they can't present papers, which most of them cannot.
So on the way to the church, we would drive by this detention center where the Bahamian government rounds up all these Haitians and literally just puts them in the detention center and leaves them there for X amount of time.
It's recently come to my attention that this is one of the worst detention centers in all of the Caribbean for the human rights violations that happen there. It's severely overcrowded, there's not proper sanitation, the families themselves have to bring food to their family members who are being detained. The government really does not want families of Haitian descent living in the Bahamas.
They're kind of used to being looked down upon by everyone in the Bahamas.
So we go to remind these kids and their family members and our friends, Pastor and Madam Joseph, who lead the church there in Carmichael Village, that they're not alone, that we stand with them, that they're loved by us and mostly by God, most of all by God.
Working in Nassau, we were a team of 16, and we worked with 140 kids. One of our goals of the trip was to help plant the seed of these kids' personal connection with God. Going into the trip, I was obviously very excited. I'd gone on the Guatemala trip last year with Alexis.
I've been on a few before, so I mean, I've seen poverty. I've hung out with kids who are in tough places. So to be quite honest, I wasn't stressful, I wasn't nervous.
I mean, initially I thought it would probably be a good experience, so I'm like, why not go?
And I was especially excited to be able to take a missions trip with my daughter. Since she's going off to college soon, it was a nice opportunity for us to do something mission-oriented together.
But as it got closer to the trip, I started worrying about it a little bit, thinking like, do I really want to be here? Is this really for me?
Our group, I didn't know everyone who was coming on the trip. I mean, I had met them before, but I didn't really know all of them. And just from the first day in the airport, we were just already playing games together. So that was me, God's just bringing our entire group together.
So we'd wake up pretty early, eat breakfast, get our things together, and we'd head over to this church where we'd have our VBS. And there would be about like 60 to 70 kids there each day. And
it was chaos 100% of the time.
And in the first 10 minutes, these kids would come up to us and just give us big hugs and be like, hi, like, I'm so happy you're here. And we didn't know any of them, but they were all just so excited for us to be there. And we played with them, the boys played soccer. We would get our hair plaited, which hurt like crazy.
I was really struck by the love that the children had immediately for us when we arrived at the church in Nassau. And I was really very surprised by how quickly they really embraced us and wanted our company and wanted our hugs and wanted our time and our listening ear.
Pretty much for 3 to 4 hours we just play with them. So I ended up playing a lot of soccer and giving a lot of piggyback rides.
We played with the parachute with them, we did duck, duck, goose, we played soccer. A lot of the girls did our hair. It was all sorts of different things, just whatever the kids wanted to do, we were there for them. We sang songs, we did a Bible story every day, which was a lot of fun. We put on a skit and read verses to the kids and asked them questions about it. We did some work on a room in the church, which was a lot of fun. We ended up taking out the roof of the kitchen area and like putting a new one in. And so I got to actually take out the roof, which was one of the most fun things I did on that trip.
Oh, too much.
The biggest delight for me this year about the trip was not only getting to continue my own relationships with the children and the people in the village, but especially getting to see that transition take place to our students here at SCCH.
You know, seeing their smiles and like their expressions on their face, it's just priceless.
They just come up to me and be like, hey, can I have a piggyback ride? And I'd give it to them, and I don't know. For the first like few days, they didn't really talk too much to me, but as the week went on, definitely. Yeah, they started talking a little bit about like themselves, and they asked questions about me.
Well, even just from the first day, the first kids that showed up, I just remember immediately going over and introducing them. And those kids were actually one of the ones that I connected with the best. There was Welgie and a few others who we got right into the soccer game, and they really liked us. Welgie was one of the kids that Caleb, Hanna, and I connected with.
But I was so impressed by the way that they just came up to us and we were immediately their friends, and they didn't care about how different we were or about how they had never met us before. They instantly just wanted to play with us. These 3 girls came across the field really early in the morning, and Chelsea went up and greeted them, and she gave them big hugs and everything, and I walked up behind her, and all 3 girls came and just tapped me and gave me these big hugs and were like, hi. And I was like, hi, like I didn't know their names or anything, and they asked what their names were. And this one little girl, Misha, was like, hi, I'm Misha. Okay, she goes, can you give me a piggyback ride? So I gave her a piggyback ride over to the porch, and from that moment on, we were connected at the hip. I was like, do you want to go play with the parachute thing? She's like, oh, if you want to play with the parachute. And I specifically connected with this girl named Dyer, and she was so adorable. And I remember the first day she asked to do my hair, and we were sitting there and she was braiding my hair and saying how much she loved Americans and how much she wanted to come home with me.
My biggest connection was actually this kid named Tony Wilson. He showed up in the afternoon on the first day, and was just immediately, I was taken to him just because he was an incredible soccer player.
There was one girl that I really connected with. Her name is Mandela, and she's just like me. You know, she's bold, brave, strong, and just has a smile on her face all the time.
Eventually I started talking to him, and on Tuesday I actually had a really deep conversation with him.
And through the week I remember her telling me about how she was scared about this movie that she watched. So I was able to talk to her and say, you know, like, what should you do if you are scared? And she said, pray. So I was able to get her to pray to God, and she said she would pray for me and I would pray for her.
And he started telling me about his life, and then we went outside and sat on some steps and actually had like a 20-minute conversation about just like what's the stuff that he's going through.
I talked to other kids and I played with other kids, but Misha was always there, and she was always, on my back or holding my hand. I had this friend of mine, Mandela, who really wanted to play soccer, And so with the fact that there are all these boys playing soccer, that, you know, it made me very self-conscious and self-aware, the fact that I would be the only girl playing soccer. I sort of took that leap of faith where, like, oh, okay, you know, I'm going to go out there and, you know, show these boys that, you know, girls, little girls can just play with them too.
So one of the things that we have the opportunity to do some years on the Nassau trip is to go to the Atlantis resort.
I think on Wednesday night of the trip we went to Atlantis, which when people think of Bahamas, they think resorts, they think of Atlantis.
It's 2 miles away from where we serve and where we stay, and it's a world away at the same time.
It was sort of weird to be like at a place where we worked and then to travel 20 minutes to this luxurious palace, you know. It just seemed really fake.
And so it's just this incredible contrast between like incredible wealth and luxury and just utter poverty and despair and suffering. Is the really striking part about that. I mean, you're gonna have poverty anywhere you go, honestly. But the really striking thing about it is that nobody knows, because when people think of Bahamas, they think of Atlantis, they think incredible white sand beaches, they think of pools, they think of stuff like that.
And it was an incredibly like surreal experience to just, that day we had been in the poverty and they're living in, you know, cinder block homes with trash around them, and then we went to Atlantis and it's like fake gold pillars and glass statues and just hundreds of dollars that people spend to stay at this fake hotel when it's just minutes away from kids who don't know where their next meal is coming from.
I didn't really find Atlantis to be that beautiful after being with the kids. It was really the children that struck me as being the most beautiful thing about being in Nassau, and I was really struck by that. Well, I was struck, I think, first by the poverty that these children live in and their families, but I also was struck, and what was most humbling was their sense of community. I had an experience with 3 little girls that I took out to help clean up the trash that we had made from snack time, where everybody was throwing their litter on the ground, and in the afternoon we went to pick it up together, and I wanted to give them a little treat for being such good helpers. And I took them in and gave them each a half a sandwich, and another little girl kind of snuck in behind them, and she asked them for some of their sandwich. And the 2 little girls didn't even hesitate. They didn't yell at the little girl saying, "You didn't help, you don't deserve this." They just tore off a piece of their sandwich and gave it to her without saying a word. It was just what was expected of them.
A lot of them, a lot of the time, were just so joyful and so happy in the hardest of circumstances. And I know a lot of the time it's hard for me to be happy just in the school year and like all these different things that I think are going wrong. But these people were just so happy all the time, and they were so thankful.
One of the other kids, he came up to us at the end of the week and said, "I'll never forget Jacob and Caleb," and it was just amazing that we could connect with kids over such a short time. Like, we were only with them a few hours a day for 5 days.
Like every day, they were so excited to see us, and at the end of the day, they were bummed we were leaving, but they still, would skip off to their homes, and they were always happy.
And just the fact that we would come down and want to hang out with them, play games with them, that really had a big impact on them. And just like when we had to leave, they were all really sad, and they're all asking, "How are you going to come back?" and everything.
I absolutely would go back next year. I'm definitely planning on it. As soon as we got back in the parking lot after the trip, I told my mom and Chelsea, do not let me convince myself to not go back to Nassau next year. And I'm already excited for it.
I would definitely like to go back next year. I really would love to see how the children have grown, but I would maybe think more intentionally about what I would like to bring. I would definitely bring more books to read to the children.
I would like to try to connect with some of the older kids, like the teenagers maybe.
I think I would definitely want to connect more with the parents and the older kids. And I know that that was a goal of ours over the course of the week, and I found it hard personally to connect with them because I was always surrounded by all the younger kids.
One of the important things to me after being on this trip was the thought that our church might develop a continual relationship with this church in Nassau.
So in future years, I would love to see us take great strides in partnering more intentionally with the Haitian Church, with Carmichael Evangelical Church. This has been a dream of mine for many years, and Pastor Joseph and I have had a lot of conversations about it. There's a longer term relationship that's been developed, and really excited for students and adults here at First Congregational Church to have the opportunity to go back, to remind these kids that we do love them and that we pray for them and that the relationship is ongoing. It's not just 1 week in a lifetime, and hopefully at some point not just 1 week a year, but there's a real sense of partnering with the Haitian Church there and continuing the relationships long term.
Something that I found is that you really see God in your relationships with other people and how it touches their lives and how they can touch you and how through them, through your relationships, God can affect your life.
A lot of us came with already knowing a few people, but we didn't know each other very, very well. So I think we instantly just came together and we all just gave over to the experience, and we were able to unite under this cause of helping people, and God was able to bring us together, and I think that's something that's really, really important.
We'll still be talking to each other years down the road, I bet. Like, we'll be hanging out with each other all the time.
I would say that God really brought us together as a team. And he also brought the team together with the people at Carmichael.
It just makes me so thrilled to think about the future of our relationship in the community, that even the first year of FCCH's participation was that seamless and that, just that blessed by God. It was a really beautiful thing to watch. It really is the greatest blessing of my life. Getting to serve in Carmichael Village and getting to see students come alive as they serve there.